through your freedom.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled to.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel, everyone. It's the first Q&A and monologue of the week in Studio B. We've been hard at it. Folks, there is so much propaganda out there, so many lies. Both sides, all sides are telling lies. Who can we believe, folks? Who can we trust? Right? Not just the facts, but how about the opinions? Should we believe the opinions of other people, that they're verifiable, or that they're factual, or that they're logical? Now, I know you must have been paying attention to the claim that there's massacre at Bucha in Ukraine. So Putin is called a war criminal by Joe Biden. Joe Biden, folks, is calling for a war crimes trial. Saying that this is ethnic cleansing or genocide. No, Biden won't go that far, but he's calling for a trial, a war crimes trial. So I stop and ask the questions, never mind, is it real or is it staged? Because Russia's saying that shit's staged. We'll get into that some more. And I want your questions. Get your questions into Jolene. I want to know the questions you're asking, right? I want to know what you're thinking about. But when Biden calls for war crimes trial, several things come to my mind. Number one, how many weddings, birthday parties, and family gatherings were drone bombed by the U.S. pseudo-military? Right? How many dozens and hundreds died, whether or not a strategic enemy was also killed in the process? Like, that's accidental damage, collateral damage, or is that war crimes that occurred while the United States government, using military and defense operatives, were dealing with the so-called bad guys in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and other places? Right? Sometimes it was in Pakistan, another country. They have a border, and you know how we're supposed to believe that borders are sacred. So if borders are sacred, what was the U.S. doing in Pakistan? If killing people and collateral damage is a war crime, who's responsible for what happened in Afghanistan and Iraq? Now, number two, Biden said this, quote, "You saw what happened in Bucha." That's what he said, folks. No, I didn't see what happened in Bucha. What I saw was footage taken by Ukraine operatives, Ukraine propagandists, telling their story. Remember, whoever has the camera is telling their story. So I didn't see what happened in Bucha. I just saw supposedly dead people in the road and on the sides of the street, etc. Right? So Biden said, "You saw what happened in Bucha." No, we saw something after the Russians left. And he said, basically, he added Putin's a war criminal, and also asked for more sanctions. That is one of the first and most direct things to come of this. More sanctions against Russia, which will create more sanctions on necessary items Russia provides the United States and Europe, namely oil, gas, coal, and uranium products. That's energy, folks. The American answer, go buy an EV. The German answer, put on more sweaters. Not going to do it. Also, food. Russia supplies fertilizer to the world market for more food created per acre that's farmed. More sanctions on Russia. How is that going to help you and me? Right? Well, since Russia says this event in Bucha was fake, folks, who do we believe? The guy who miraculously won 91 million votes while napping in his basement, literally. Or do we believe the guy, the nap basement king, hates? Do we believe the guy he hates or the guy that we know is full of absolute dung heap shit, caca, right? And in calling this war crime, I have one more thing that I want to read you. And this comes from a guy who does a lot of discussion about precious metals. He put something out in a post on YouTube. And he says, America, and I believe he is also a former Marine, America remains the single and only nation on earth to use nuclear weapons on a civilian population of starving women and children, and they did it twice. One of the cities was the most Christian city in all of Japan. America burned the shadows of children onto walls and murdered unarmed non-combatants at non-military targets to demonstrate their newfound demonic power to the world. The indefensible war crime atrocity was resisted by top military brass and generals, including MacArthur. Read the decision to use the atomic bomb. It was evil, and if you support it, you too are evil. Most red and white and blue retards cannot handle these truths. Most, when confronted with this reality, are as pictured. Cope, see, dilate, disagree, GTFO. That was from Junius Maltby and the Junius Maltby channel. War crimes. Just a very interesting question. It gives it some scale, does it not? You know, even if it was Russians who killed people, how do we know they were or were not combatants? Now, I actually watched a report. I went and researched it to see if anyone witnessed anything going down in Bucha. Because as Joe Biden says, right, you saw what happened to Bucha. No, I didn't. So I tried to see what happened. And instead, I found a report from an embedded Russian journalist. So I have to consider the source, but this is what he said, paraphrasing, right? The Russian soldiers and the people of Bucha who, right, Russian soldiers held that town. They were in that city for a long time. They didn't just drive through one day and gone the next. They spent some time there. And there were no, according to this reporter, there were no problems between the Russian soldiers and the civilian population. So what happened? Let's see. When asked about the atrocities committed by the Ukraine military, President Nosy Zelensky told Fox News, right, they are what they are, it is what it is, an answer to that sort, just kind of blowing off. Well, it just is what it is. It was what it was. They are who they are, and they did what they did. Who cares? Oh, Hillary Clinton. What difference does it make now anyways? So they'll forgive that, whatever these atrocities were, and just say, yeah, whatever, they are what they are. But if Russia presumably does it, or could it be that the Ukraine military, which has demonstrated, and their leaders admitted that, well, you know, they are what they are and they do what they do, they commit atrocities. Maybe they committed these atrocities and then filmed it and blamed the Russians. Or it's being reported by some sources that this is all a false flag and they were, once again, crisis actors, living people who were actually moving. Now, I can't say what it is, folks. I just know that they're using this to increase, to create more SHTF. They're using these war antics and war propaganda to create more SHTF for you and I to deal with. Right. Now, we've heard the expression, all is fair in love and war, right? Or not, right? The world wants to starve Russia out, folks. That's what we've heard. The world, United States government and the European government, They want to starve Russia. They want to starve the Russian people. Now, wait a minute. Isn't that an atrocity? Isn't that a violation of their basic human rights? Starving people to death? Starving them out? Isn't that hurting them, hurting the health of children and women, civilians, non-combatants? It's incredible, folks, that they want to use sanctions to starve people. What's worse, right? Being shot and killed, at least in a very quick manner, or being starved over weeks and months, slowly deteriorating and your body consuming itself, your body consuming its own protein, its own energy in order to feed itself because there's not enough food. How is that better? How is that more humane? How is that more righteous? Well, it's not, folks. All is fair in love and war. So Russia, in response to this demand to starve out its people, no, they threaten now. They'll just come back. They threaten to limit vital exports of agricultural products to friendly countries only. They're going to limit it to only their allies, meaning screw the rest of the world. Why should Russia help other countries if other countries are trying to starve them out? And specifically, why give them fertilizer and other agricultural products? Folks, this is not going to help me and you. This is more propaganda, more rhetoric, more call for war, more sanctions, more pain, more suffering, more SHTF. I mean, I think we're catching on now, aren't we? I think we're catching on. Now, President, the letter Z means Russia, Zelensky, he says and broadcasts to the mothers of Russian soldiers, see what bastards you've raised. Now, that's not an attack on Putin. That's not an ad hominem attack on the Russian military. That's an attack on the mothers. I thought mothers, the mothers of children, were supposed to be revered and adored because only mothers understand life and nurturing and giving. Well, Zelensky is not only going after Russians, but he's going after civilians, and he's going after the sacred mother, right? The universal mother's rule crowd. But I'll go past that, folks. I'll look past the hypocrisy and the lies and the bullshit, and I'll say this is all theater. It's theater for idiots, it's theater for small minds, and it's theater for weaklings who want your children to go fight a war in Ukraine so that these people in government can virtue signal that they are good and that they really care and Russia's bad. Remember, Zelensky says of his military atrocities, they are what they are. Unbelievable, folks. They want war to create more SHTF. It is unbelievable to me, but it's also extremely believable. Now, you want more SHTF upgrades? The European Union, right, prepares new Russian sanctions along with the United States. And the European Union needs Russian gas, Russian oil, Russian coal, Russian uranium. All of its energy, except for the sun and the wind, come from Russia, folks. Not all of it, but enough that without it, they won't make it. Unbelievable. It is really unbelievable. Now, back here domestically, we have an election coming. 2 years ago, or nearly 2 years ago, we were told that you can't talk about a certain subject. You have to give it up. Right? And if you say anything, you're going to be canceled because, fact checkers and dangerous misinformation is everywhere, folks. Well, the other day, Michael Benedict Arnold Pence told everyone that they need to forget it and move on. Well, the voter base, folks, the Republican base according to Charlie Kirk from Turning Point USA, said, I'm really disgusted with Republicans who are telling us to move on. The base feels as though a massive civil injustice was done to them. Who's doing the injustice domestically, folks? Think about it. It's our not so good buddies in the Democrat Party. It's Washington, D.C. It's the system. And here domestically, we don't like it. We don't like the system. We don't like the people. We don't like their policies. And we certainly don't like the direction they're trying to take the nation, which includes destroying the nation. So why should we believe this same group of people when it comes to foreign policy and foreign actions and foreign events? I don't believe any of them, folks. It is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And you know, we do have tremendous domestic problems. Over the weekend, there was a couple of shootings, and they're calling them mass shootings, folks. And Democrats are now worried because, twice the Democrat handlers of Biden used language to refund the police over this Sacramento shooting, right? And folks, we have to remember and understand, mass shootings happen in Democrat blue cities that already have gun restrictions, and the shootings happen in shitty areas at obviously bad times of day, right? Like rap concerts in Texas and 3 a.m. Downtown Sacramento. I'm sure the rap concert was in a metropolitan area, not 500 miles out in the country, right? But for this election cycle, Democrats are going to pretend to give a shit, folks, about law and order and law enforcement because they're in charge now. Unlike the 2020 mostly peaceful $5 billion Destructo riot that BLM and Antifa fame treated us to. It is unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable what's going on with all of these liars out here. And speaking of that, I've got something for you that's just going to really make your day. Facebook has been censoring people and claiming that they are causing harm with their misinformation, right? Spreading misinformation. Well, this is incredible, folks. Facebook has now said that Dr. F, the booster rooster, Dr. Doom, booster boy, is spreading misinformation about vaccination. That's right, folks. That's right. Facebook is now saying their god of science is now spreading misinformation. How is that possible, you might ask? Well, it comes from that old video of him saying that getting it, whatever it is, a cold, a flu, is the best way to be protected from it, right? Natural immunity. Well, Facebook fact checkers looked into what Dr. F said and discovered it conflicts with what Dr. F said. And so now Dr. F is being said to be speaking misinformation about Jim Jones juice, while the other Dr. F is telling us the real truth. Everyone should be able to see this and hear this and know this for what it is. But we're not done with the little man, right? And remember, this guy says it's okay to be unpopular because, he's really saving the world.
I also want to ask you about the president's mandate. There's so much opposition now.
I understand, and we all understand, how people do not like to be told what to do. They want to make their own choice and their own free will.
Is there any thought of backing off of that?
People do not like to be told what to do, told what to do. They want to make their own choice and their own free will, their own choice.
Backing off.
Free will, their own free will. I get that and I respect that. Free will, I respect that. But these are unusual times. Their own free will, unusual times.
Yeah, they're unusual times, all right. You want to hear some more unusual times? Dr. Booster Rooster says that more lockdowns could be utilized, quote, Get this, in a positive way. You bet, folks, it's positive. That can be a very positive way to go about living our lives because lockdowns can be positive. He did another one-on-one interview with CBS and discussed the risk of easing current restrictions, right? Unbelievable what this guy says. He also said forced masking will be back if cerveza cases rise. Unbelievable, folks. Didn't we hear that, facts and statistics, that science matters? Didn't we hear that science matters and we need to follow the science? What did the science say? What did the statistical analysis say about lockdowns and masks? It's unbelievable, and I can't read. I'm not allowed to say anything. I mean, the Booster Rooster can argue with himself. He can change his mind from 20 years ago, or he could change his mind from 20 days ago. Hell, why not 20 minutes ago? He can just change his mind whenever he wants, and we're supposed to be just 100% willing to accept it. Domestically, we've got a lot of problems, folks. They're trying to hide them. They're trying to scare us. Are you scared? Are you tired, right? Well, maybe you should be a little more concerned about this, what I'm about to talk to, rather than us being scared, being afraid of the boogeyman or Putin or an invisible bug, right? This came from Bonnie Blue, and I want to say thank you to Bonnie Blue. She's a member, as you all are, if you choose to be, of the background researchers that provide information that makes it to the program. It's not just me, folks. There's not enough of me to go around to cover every story, to get every detail, to get all the facts, I can't do it all. So yeah, Bonnie Blue checks in and says, just a heads up, New York supermarket super chain CEO John Castamatidis. That's a mouthful of letters. He told Maria Bartiromo of Fox News, and Maria is really one of the few that is actually reporting useful information, useful news. So this super chain CEO told Maria Bartiromo that he expects food prices to rise another 10 to 15% over the next 45 to 60 days. Okay, that's the next month and a half to 2 months. You're going to see another 10 to 15%. Now, just today, Germans woke up to discover they had 20 to 50% rise in food price overnight from the weekend to the weekdays. Folks, 10 to 15% every quarter, that's 40 to 60% annually, right? So yeah, it's feasible. Yeah, let's do some quick math here. $8 for a pound of hamburger. If that raises 40, 50, or 60%, let's just say 50% average. That makes it $12 a pound hamburger. Well, how about a $6 pound of hamburger up 50%? That's $9. From $6 to $9, oh, you can pay that. It's no problem. I think people are starting to really feel the pinch. It is getting really bad out there, folks. Really bad out there. Now, crops. What's up with crops? I think we need more warm weather for crops, right? Plants love sunshine. They love heat as much as they love a good drink of water, right? Well, we do have an SHTF weather report, and this news article came in. Cold snap sends French power prices to a 13-year high. A cold snap. That's right. It's spring, but it's just 2 weeks into spring, and we get cold snaps. Well, I thought we had global warming. So cold snap really puts the hurt, right? Sends power prices higher, right? So So let's just examine these things again, folks. Again, propaganda. The climate experts are saying we are getting too warm after 100 years of measuring temperatures. Now, of course, this is where I go, 100 years? You've been measuring temperatures 100 years? Are the measuring devices across that 100-year timeline comparable to one another and consistent? I'm going to say I 100% doubt it. If the degrees, if the temperature, if the warmingness has gone up 1 degree, is it within the statistical margin of error of different technologies that 1 degree increase, whether it's Fahrenheit or Celsius, is real or imagined or within the margin of error for technology? Did they keep their thermometers in perfect places 100 years ago? Out of the sunshine, or in the sunshine, or under a tree, or next to a building, or anywhere near a heater vent, or who knows, right? Who knows what they did 100 years ago, but we're supposed to believe that, right? But even though it's a cold snap in France, it's warmer in Antarctica. So let's use those temperatures, those warmer ones down there, to say, quote, we have a climate crisis. And we're going to blame colder and wetter weather where humans live on the warmer weather where humans don't live. And it's all your fault. It's all humanity's fault. Yeah, we need some climate change going on. Now, listen, I don't like dirty air. I don't like dirty water. But I don't like everyone suffering for it. When, I guess we're supposed to just believe the experts again, unless they're contradicting themselves. And then we just have to, believe, I guess, the people that the news says we need to believe. Incredible. Now I want to harken back again to Sacramento, to the shooting that took place, because not only do we have an energy crisis, a climate crisis, a war crisis, an electricity crisis, apparently we have a crisis of conscience and morality in schools. We now have a gun control crisis, according to President Joe Biden. He wants to, quote, ban ghost guns and ban assault weapons, right? Biden released a statement Sunday evening calling on Congress to pass gun control laws. And he says, ban ghost guns. I don't know how you ban something that doesn't exist. A ghost gun doesn't exist. How would you prove that a ghost gun was or wasn't made at any one particular time, because it has no markings? It's a ghost gun. So are they going to ban all ghost guns retroactive? I suppose that, they can do whatever they want because they're like gods in Washington, D.C. Anyways, he says, ban ghost guns, require background checks for all gun sales. I thought we already do that. Ban assault weapons. Well, assault weapons are not legal because an assault weapon is a fully automatic weapon that requires an HTF level 3, right, license. Ban assault weapons and high capacity magazines. Repel gun manufacturers' immunity from liability. I tell you what, high capacity magazines, even in the state of California, even in the radical leftist state of California, their Supreme Court has found, or is it the federal courts have found, that is unconstitutional. And repealing gun manufacturers' immunity from liability, that logic still falls flat on its face because it's not logic. It is illogic. Now, if someone's fat, can they blame a spoon and fork manufacturer? Can they blame a food manufacturer? Can they blame a fast food restaurant? Can they blame farmers for making cheap, readily available food? Should there be a waiting list? Back background checks before buying food so people don't get fat and die of heart disease and diabetes. How about suing car manufacturers if the driver of a car ever runs someone over and kills them? In fact, I think more people get run over and killed by cars every year than people that get shot with guns. We go, but wait a minute, that was an accident. Well, I believe a lot of the gun accident or gun deaths are accidents. But, it doesn't matter. Right? Let's just look at the logic. How about every doctor that does something wrong that causes the death? Doctors and nurses that causes the death of people who are in their hospitals. Should they have their immunity, right, removed? Well, they have insurance, right? Malpractice insurance, yada, yada, yada. It seems like the only ones who benefit from all this are lawyers. Anyways, I'm going to take this in a kind of a different direction with you. And then we'll get to your questions. So get your questions in to Jolene. Now, this shooting in Sacramento occurred at, I think, 3 a.m. outside of bars. Why not ban alcohol, folks? Why don't we ban bars? Why don't we impose curfews in big cities and roll that back to 8 p.m. to punish areas like Sacramento where the crime is? Right? Is the crime all over the country? No. The crime is just in blue cities where these mass shootings occur. Right? Does the crime occur all day long? No. Usually, late at night shootings. It's when the criminals are out. So, yeah, why not punish the criminals and the people around the criminals in the areas where the criminals live instead of punishing everyone else for what a comparatively, microscopically small percentage of the population does? And to name ghost guns as an issue shows again how pointedly the anti-Second Amendment crowd and response is. Was there a ghost gun used in Sacramento? Really? The Second Amendment, folks, is and has always been the target. The ability to stand up to government is key. The government doesn't like that ultimately we can stand up to it. When the people are unarmed, they refuse to use their First Amendment free speech rights also because they feel like they don't have any backup. The Second Amendment is backup to the First Amendment. The Second Amendment is backup, freedom, when all other methods fail. This is about tyranny, folks. It's not about guns. The Democrats, Joe Biden, they don't like the fact that we still have guns, and they want their great reset. I think more died in the 2020 riots in a single night by BLMers than what happened in this mass shooting. So why didn't Biden, Pelosi, Hillary, or any Democrats want to ban the First Amendment? Because these were mostly peaceful protesters, right? Well, the reason they didn't ban any of that is because they have an agenda. And someone fact check that and see if there was any one day where more people died from BLM and Antifa and their riots, burning, looting, and murdering, than what occurred in Sacramento because of a mass shooting outside of a bar at 3 a.m. in the morning. All right, it's time, folks. It's time to get to your questions, your comments, your thoughts. Let's do it.
Are you ready?
Yeah, you bet we got a lot to talk about. Coming to you from Studio B at the Prepared Mind Network. It's good to be back here, get a little sunshine through the window in the afternoon. And what do you want to discuss? Jolene, who wants to step up first and be famous? Latin American Preparedness checks in and says, more hypocrisy. Biden believes Putin is a war criminal. Far more people killed by the U.S. military, beginning with Truman in Japan to the current conflicts with the military. Should U.S. presidents be tried? Now, this is one of those topics that really strikes all of us, whether you're a veteran or not, whether you're a patriot or just a regular old citizen, is, well, if the troops do something, are they responsible or were they following orders? Right? Because that's what they'll claim. Well, I was just following orders. Or, I was scared and I shot somebody. I still remember a Marine corporal during the Iraqi invasion. We had a problem. I don't know if he was in Fallujah or somewhere outside there, but he ended up killing somebody because he thought that person was going to engage himself and other Marines and kill them. And then he was brought up on war crimes because he violated engagement protocol. Well, today, by the way, speaking of engagement protocol, it was filmed and released by the Ukraine military, a Ukraine soldier asking his commander, his officer in charge, if we see somebody without a blue armband, can we shoot them? See, if you wear a blue armband on your arm, that means you are pro-Ukraine. I guess if you wear white, you're pro-Russian. If you wear nothing, you're pro-Russian. If you wear anything other than blue, you're pro-Russian, and therefore you can be shot. It didn't say they have to be holding a weapon or be shooting at them in a clear and very dangerous manner, presenting themselves as the enemy. No, he just says, if they're not wearing a blue armband, can we shoot them? And the commander said, yes. What an interesting time, folks. What an interesting time. Oh, by the way, if you want to play Tell a Lie, Tell the Truth, please feel free to do so. And that game is, tell a lie and tell a truth. And you can see if you can stump me. See if I can figure out which one is which. Yeah, anyways, if we could pop the preparedness, Latin American preparedness comment back up there one more time, pretty please, Jolene. There's something else that kind of got to me here. Should U.S. presidents be tried? Right? Is it the people in the field? Is it their officers? Is it the battle plan? Is it the president? You see, President Biden wants to hold Putin accountable. He wants to make Putin accountable. So I start asking myself questions like, well, if you can hold a president, a leader of a country accountable for what someone else does, can you hold them accountable for all things that occur in that country?
Fake carrots. Fake fruit. Fake. Fake. Fake grapefruits. Fake. Liar! You liar!
So can we hold Biden accountable for destroying the economy, for making our lives more difficult? Can we hold Obama accountable for ruining our healthcare system? Can we hold presidents, governors, and mayors accountable and sue them and charge them with war crimes for all the people that have died because of Jim Jones' use? Right? Can the government be held responsible for all of the trauma, pain, loss? No, they'll claim immunity. They'll just deny that they're involved. You see, this is a propaganda standard that they're living up to. It's not about being honest with people in Russia or Ukraine, Europe, or the United States of America. It's not about being honest. It's about propaganda and trying to get you and me to believe their story and to support their actions. But we always ask every other time, who benefits? Right? Who benefits? Right? There's a massive agenda. There's a narrative that's being followed. There's a goal. Right? We've heard of the Great Reset. And this is, by all outward appearances, exactly that. An attempt to make that happen. A great reset of our system. But no, I don't want to reset the Constitution. I think it's fine just the way it is, and it needs to be enforced. It needs to be lived up to by those who have sworn an oath to protect, defend, and obey it. Wow. All right, let's do this, Jolene. Let's move on to the next question if we shall, because no, we won't be able to hold President Biden accountable, even though he's a liar. Bonnie Blue checks in and says, until the problems of 1134 are corrected, half of Americans will not have confidence in our election and judicial systems. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Confidence in our election systems, confidence in our judicial system. How about confidence in our legislature? Confidence in the entire government structure, because all three branches are involved in the elections, in certifying the elections, and if there are any problems with elections, right, the judges are supposed to address those concerns. That's really how the tiered system is supposed to work. Not that one tier is better than another, but that it takes 3 legs to make a stool that is balanced. 4 legs, you can have a shorter leg. 3 legs, you always have a stool that's balanced. Now, the seat may not be level, and certainly now it leans to the left very, very heavily. Yeah. I would say that more than half of Americans don't have confidence in the election system. This is just a guess on my part, but I'm going to say, well, Republicans have been quite disenchanted with it, and many have claimed that they're disenfranchised with it. But Democrats also feel the same way, especially if they live in a Republican district. They believe that their votes aren't being counted. Right? And there have been many, many, many times where Democrats claim that fraud has taken place and that they want it looked into and that they want investigations. My confidence in the system right now is very, very low. It's small. It's very petito, right? Tiny, like Joe Biden's brain, like his morals. Yeah, these are very difficult times for all of us, because we see the SHTF folks. They're using war and the cry for war and the demand for war and the justification for war to create even more SHTF. And remember, folks, in war, governments claim extraordinary power, because they claim, well, there's extraordinary things that need to happen. We must win the war at all costs. Oh, that's right. Once again, who benefits in Ukraine? Who benefits if Russia wins? And by winning, they make Ukraine sign papers saying they will not perform certain actions. Now, always, if you break a contract, especially one that has to do with war, there's a pretty nasty, heavy penalty that's paid. So, yeah. Right. What is going on here? What are we supposed to believe? All right, let's do this. Let's move on if we shall. We got Bioxo77 checking in. He says, question for John. During the zoo, you mentioned something about BASF Corporation. I only caught a little of it. I work in auto paint industry, and BASF is a majority of what we sell. Just curious. Just curious if you could go over that again. Thanks, John. You're the best. I appreciate that, Bioxo. And I do recall this. It was the CEO of the world's largest chemical corporation, BASF. And it's a German corporation, BASF, SES, whatever it is, they have a designation that kind of like we use Inc. Incorporated. And basically he said, if they cut off Russian fuel, oil, gas, everything from Germany, it will create a catastrophe, an energy crisis and catastrophe that hasn't been seen in Germany since the end of World War II. It's a pretty harsh statement. It is. It's a very serious indictment, and it's a very serious conclusion that he drew. But I think he was being honest. Once again, if a corporation wants to get into Ukraine, they've got no problem with all of this war and garbage going on. In fact, if they start a war and win the war, then they can get their companies into Ukraine and do whatever dirty little business they need to do to make their money. But if you're a huge corporation like BASF with established facilities in Germany, around the world, and you're relying on a competently run power grid and a fair, shall we say, corporate environment. Remember, people, the folks who need to cheat are the folks who like to cheat because it's been proven that that's what helps them win. No, I'm not saying that BASF is a great company and that they're fair and they never cheat and lie or steal or do anything bad. I'm not saying that. But in this case, BASF is saying, hey, you're not just hurting Russia. When you cut them off, when you sanction them, you're not just hurting Russia, the government, you're hurting the Russian people, of course, but you're hurting us. Not just the German people, but the German corporations that rely on the petrochemical industry to supply them with components. That's right, folks, chemicals, petroleum, petrochemical. Chemicals come from oil. It's the most useful and beneficial product that is produced on the planet. It produces lubricating oils, it produces fuels, it produces asphalt, it produces medicine components, raw components, molecules. It produces chemicals. Right? For every, say, 50 gallons of oil, crude oil, there are a lot of chemicals in that can be extracted, processed, or converted out of it. I remember when I was in the oil industry back in the 90s, watching the development of turning natural gas into a lubricating oil by combining the short chain hydrocarbons into longer chain hydrocarbons until they could become oils. And it was very interesting, right? It was the development of technology. So, I mean, yeah, it's converting molecules into molecules, stripping them down, building them up, altering them for whatever purpose. And the petrochemical industry is a big part of that. But without electricity, BASF is done, like many other corporations. So, yeah, the Germans are going, this could be bad. You could ruin our country, ruin our economy, ruin our companies. All for what? Political expediency? To prove that Putin is a massacring thug, right? Or is it because the greedy have a plan? And I really think this is it. They don't care about BASF any more than they don't care about the American economy. They need things to kind of be brought down a few notches, put the hurt, the pain on the people. And even some companies, yes, even some companies will have to fall. Kind of like Lehman Brothers, a massive, massive, massive corporation, banking, financial investment institution. They were allowed to suffer and be destroyed back in 2008, while other banks were bailed out with TARP money. But not Lehman Brothers. And interestingly, Lehman Brothers, the people at the top there, had a disagreement with how the system should be run. Consequently, they were punished, allowed to fall. So yeah, a lot of corporations will fall. So you better get your wokeness on. You better virtue signal. You better support the administration. You better support the World Economic Forum, because they're going to be our new elitist masters. At least that's what they think. All right, let's move on if we shall. Jolene, what do we got next? We got a $50 super chat from Cottage Farm. I didn't see that last night. Whew. This is interesting. Caught a drone hovering 15 to 20 feet off of the deck after dinner at mom's house. I got excited and screamed at my mom, "Can I shoot it?" She said, "No, I've since bought a super soaker. Bring it on, biatches. What's up, TPM family?" That's really interesting. Number one, thank you for the great super chat donation. Love it. Need it. We've got to have all the support we can. And you guys did a fabulous job last night, making sure that we stay on the air and make sure I'm not getting a sunburn 24/7 or 12/7, or you know what I'm saying. But a drone, was it a government drone? Was it a private drone? What right do you have on your property? Is the air above your house your property? Is it your air up until it's above the trees? Does someone else have the right or authority to fly a drone and have it be staring at you? These are all interesting questions. I have still not seen a drone except in very public places where they're allowed to be flown and there's no expectation of privacy. But if I were to see a drone like hovering outside of a window, say right back here, if I had a baseball bat, I might mistake it for a baseball. If I had a super soaker full of, I don't know, sulfuric acid, it might get soaked. I know sulfuric acid probably eat a squirt gun alive, but yeah, some funny questions out there. Hornet spray, wasp spray. How about aerosol spray glue? That stuff sprays many, many feet in the air. And I bet if you put a straw on it, you could really aim that. And that, adhesive glue coming out of a spray can would probably gum up those little wings pretty quick. In fact, when I was in construction, if I was working up in the rafters of a house, working on skylights or something way up there, there were oftentimes wasps. And I kept a can of a 3M spray adhesive in the back bag. And I'd pull that out and take out wasps because it would just gum them up and they'd fall. Dangerous world out there when little flying objects threaten you. So maybe they're not a drone. Maybe it is just a bunch of really big wasps. It's hard to tell sometimes. They buzz, they annoy you, they threaten you. Okay, thank you. Anyways, yeah, good luck on that. What I would do is I would call the sheriff, Cottage Farm. I recommend calling the sheriff, or if you're in the city limits, calling the municipal police department, making a formal complaint and asking what your rights are. What's within your rights? Are you within your rights to bring it down by any method that you deem possible? Like, I don't know, throwing some weighted string at it, like a couple of split shot weights and some fishing line. Can you do that? Can you throw a rope over the top of it and yank it down? Anyways, Cottage Farm says this: I tried to buy 6 bags of food for my animals at Costco. I was only allowed 1. Time to start shopping daily. I tell you what, that's quite interesting. So that is rationing, folks. When you're not allowed to buy whatever you feel like, it's rationing. There's no emergency going on. There's no hurricane. There's no tornado. There's no flood. There's no volcano. There's no tsunami. And they're telling you can only have 1. That's rationing. So it's a little more difficult if you live in a rural environment because you may only have 1 feed store or 2 feed stores in your area. And being a smaller area, they tend to get to know their customers better. And so they'll recognize you if you come back more than once a day or you come back every day. Had this problem with ammunition when I was in extreme Northern California. I'd show up and they'd go, yeah, I think we recognize you. You're pretty tall, pretty big, pretty white. Yeah, we know it's you, John. Get out of here. Take off the Groucho Marx glasses and leave the store. But yeah, it is time to start shopping. If you live in a metropolitan area, my recommendation is go to Costco, go find another Costco. And maybe you need to be a member of Sam's Club also. At this point, the idea is to get, a significant amount of chow for your animals, whether they're dogs or cats or chickens and ducks or pigs and goats. We're going to have some hard times coming. We've been promised it. We've been promised it by Putin. We've been promised it by Justin, the Führer Trudeau. I almost called him some really bad names. We've been promised it by Putin because he has said, hey, you punish us, you're punishing yourselves. Stop sanctioning us and we won't sanction you. All right, so Sally Sue checks in, said prices continue to rise, and though they might eventually get a little better, I doubt they will ever go back to what they were before. We'll eventually have to pay these prices. Very true. Now, I was talking with Chris B. Bacon. In fact, we talked about an interview that I need to do with him on the channel regarding economics. But he said, you know what? We used to talk a lot about gold and silver. Buy gold, buy silver now, because in a few years, things are going to get really nasty. And the increase in value, it'll be more like an investment. It'll also be an insurance and a guarantee that your wealth hasn't evaporated, been cyber attacked away or confiscated by the government because they did a bail-in at the bank or the bank failed altogether. So we used to say buy gold and silver because it's going to go up at least as much as inflation, probably more. And in a bad economic downturn, like a recession, the 1970s, right, it can increase exponentially, But then we realized, silver's gone up over the last couple of years, 2 years, it's gone up like 25%. If you look at what's going on with food, right? Food prices are going to go up and they're going to stay up. They may go up and come back a little. 2 steps up, 1 step back. 3 steps up, 1 step back. Always up, and it'll never go back to really, really cheap prices. I agree. So if your normal food bill is $500 a month and prices go up to $600 a month, if you have long-term food storage, you can eat that food, which costs a lot less than $500 a month, and you net save $100. So the next month, right? So at the end of the month, you eat some of your food chow and you save $100, right? Because you're eating it and you bought it a lot cheaper. So now you take that $100 and next month you go to buy food and you spend your normal $500 plus the $100 you just saved. So you have now saved $100 in your next month's purchase. Instead of paying $600, you're only paying $500. And then you eat another $100 worth of your long-term food chow, okay, your food storage, and you replace it, right? You take that money and you replace it, but you're always saving that $100. What if it goes from $500 to $600 and then to $700? Well, now you eat that $500 worth of food and you save $200 because the replacement cost is $700. Well, you take that $200 you saved and you buy with your normal $500 to replace what you ate. And then the next month, right, it's $700 and you eat the long-term food storage food and you save $200 and you put that back into the next thing. So you're saving in a significant percentage, whether the price goes up 10%, 20%, 25%, 50%, you're eating food you bought that's significantly cheaper, meaning you're saving all that money and you can use that savings to buy the replacement food. Yes, you're going to have to spend more eventually because replacing the stuff you bought costs more. But every month you're also saving a bunch of money. This is a form of investment from month to month or year to year or semi-annually to semi-annually, if you look at it that way. Right. So let's just say in 2 years, a $500 a month family is now a $1,000 a month family. But the food you're eating at that time, you only paid $700 a month for because you bought it at a discount by buying it way ahead of time. $700 was way more than the $500 you paid, but it's way less than the $1,000. It's really hard to wrap your head around it. But if you're buying cheaper today and you eat it, you're saving money. You have to replace it. It costs a little more, but you also saved a bunch of money in order to do so. So it is a net win. Plus, you need to rotate your foodstuffs anyways. You need to rotate them out. Right? You can't keep food in, like a chunky soup or chunky stew or pork and beans. You can't keep those cans for 30 years. Just not a good idea. Even though when I was a kid, I think I ate some pork and beans from the Vietnam era. They were like 20 years old, sea rations. They weren't too bad. Didn't kill me. Obviously, I'm fine now. Kind of like those people who love to get the Jim Jones Boost to rooster Right? They love that stuff. They're just fine now. Yeah, it didn't hurt me. In fact, I got over everything faster. Okay, Biden, you just keep on keeping on. Anyways, I want to thank you guys for supporting the channel. Thank you for the great donations on PayPal, on Cash App, on Super Chats. I want to thank you for coming to Patreon, paying $2 a month, 7 cents a day, but then participating in the Q&A. I love having you guys participate every day in the Q&A. Godspeed to y'all. Semper Fi, and chance favors the prepared mind is yours. I'll see you very soon.